Well, if you're watching this video right now, it's a good chance that your marriage is not falling apart because you cheated or because of some type of abuse or because of some dramatic betrayal, something fell apart, everything just fell apart, right? The chances are that you guys fell apart quietly. The chances are that you are two good people doing life together, that you guys are working, hardworking folks. You both still care deeply about one another. And the issue is you're just for some reason not quite feeling connected anymore. See, the reality is most people find themselves in situations like this for one reason. It's because, right? Nobody taught you how to stop doing that. See, most marriages don't fall apart because they have a lack of love. You obviously still care about your spouse. It's really about a lack of order. It's about having order in your home. It's about having a dynamic that is clearly established. Men are supposed to be leaders, but men stop leading. Women are supposed to be the nurturer, and they don't nurture. And they stop trusting the man because since the man's not leading, they don't feel like they can trust him to lead. And so they start to become a little bit of a man in their own way, right? I know that sounds a little bit strange, but they take those leadership roles. And that's not the way that it's supposed to be biblically. The Bible tells us that that's not how it's supposed to be. Christ is the head of the man is the wife's head of the children, right? The book of Ephesians chapter 5 tells us that men should love their wives like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, right? And so it's important to understand the dynamic. And when we go against that dynamic, then we wonder why things are strange. But the thing is, the world teaches us that men who lead are toxic men. It's toxic masculinity. And we're taught that women who are submitting, who are in submission, they're weak women. We're taught that. That's what society teaches us. And you got to remember that if the devil wants to he wants to attack your life, well, how he's going to do that is by making you think that doing the things are wrong and doing the wrong things are right. So submission as a wife is a wrong, bad thing. And instead you should be more like a man. And a man being a leader and a protector and a provider is a bad thing. They should be more like a woman, more nurturing and submissive. And then when you switch these gender roles, you're like, man, like our marriage isn't doing great. And I'm not saying that the man's wearing a dress and doing the dishes. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying that doing the dishes is only a woman's job. That's not what I mean. But a man is a protector and a provider and a woman is a nurturer. And so when you lose that dynamic, it's really clear, it's really obvious. And so what we have to be focusing on is how do we get things back on track? And so before the apple, we don't start with date nights, right? Before the apple focuses on, right, before the fall of your relationship, before you lost trust, before everything began to build resentment, before the ego, before the blame, right? It's about taking people and restoring the roles that existed before you allowed all this chaos to enter into your home. And that's what's happening, right? So, for example, men, I believe, are designed to be warriors. They're designed to be disciplined. They're designed to be dangerous, right? To be protectors from evil, to keep a safe area in your home, to make your home feel like a safe space. Have you ever come home, though, and you don't feel like your husband makes that home a safe place? He's not that safety, or maybe the wife, for example, they're designed to be the builders and the warmth of the home, right? Wise, discerning, strong, and you come home and the home is supposed to feel warm and healthy, but it doesn't. It feels cold and dark and just not the air of love. That's a woman's job. And you might be watching this video, this guy's out of his mind, but I'm telling you, you're the one with the marriage issues though. And I was the one with the marriage issues in the past. And this is why I know this, right? It's once you fall out of the traditional roles of what a man and a woman are supposed to be, you find yourself with a lot of issues, right? And the truth is, you're going to be reading a lot of books. You don't need another book. You don't need another podcast. You got to take action. You need structure. And honestly, you need accountability. And a lot of people don't realize that. You need accountability. You need leadership. And that leadership can't apologize because it's biblical. You need to have just non-negotiables in your home. And watch and see what happens because you got to think your kids are the ones that pay the price for this. Your kids and who they grow up to be are the ones that ultimately pay the price. And so, as a man, are you spiritually leading your home? Are you actually becoming the man that your wife needs you to be? So let's break these roles up individually and talk about them, right? So, for example, if you want a strong marriage, a strong dynamic in your home, the man needs to be a warrior for Christ. He needs to be led by God. His morals need to come from God. He needs to be a man worth following. And only a man who is truly steeped in the word of God and truly fears God is a man worth following, right? I think we can all agree as Christians, like that's just the truth. Anything outside of that, this is a compromised man. He is basing his morality off of social cues. What's comfortable, what's normal. That's why you see it's not normal for a man to give up his man card. That's not a normal thing. It's not normal for a man to cry and whine in front of his wife all the time. These are not normal things, right? The book of Job, when God speaks to Job the first time, he says, brace yourself like a man. I will question you and you will answer me. He doesn't say brace yourself like a woman. He doesn't say brace yourself like a child. He doesn't say, hey, look, I want to talk to you. I don't want you to be offended. No, he says brace yourself like a man. And then he questions him in a way that challenges his ego. Because up to this point, he thought that he knew it all. Now, when a man is in that energy, when he's strong, when he is confident, when he's leading his home, when he's physically fit, right? When he's going, if you're a man, you're a dad, you need to be going to the gym. If you're a husband, you need to be going to the gym, man. Like you think your wife wants to lay next to a guy who don't take care of himself? She doesn't. And so when you as a man are taking care of your family, you need to be able to do that, right? So physically, spiritually, mentally, helping, getting help, growing in that way. Now, what about the woman? The truth is, as many women as there are in this world that want to have their own independence, the job, and all this stuff, I am in full support of it. I think that's amazing. But you cannot sacrifice your role as a wife for the role of a man in the world and then be surprised why your man is not satisfied with you. I'll put it like this. When you have a job, you have something called a boss. There's a person who's in charge of you. Most of the time, that boss is a man. How do you think your husband feels when you go off to work every day? Don't get offended here. When you go off to work every day and your boss tells you when to leave, when to come, when to stay, what you need to do, how much work needs to be done. You respect your boss more than sometimes you respect your husband. Sometimes we respect the schedule and the calendar for our job and the things that we need to do, those duties, more than the duties and responsibilities of our home. And then we act surprised as to why none of these things aren't working right. Then we act surprised and we say, well, how come my husband does not love me anymore? How come he doesn't? It's not that he doesn't love you. He just realizes that he is now in the back seat to your career, that your home is in the back seat to your career, that you have somebody else who's in charge of you. So the dichotomy is Christ is in charge of the man is the head of the wife is the head of the children. Well, now we've changed it where Christ is the head of the man and the man is the head of nothing. And the wife, well, the boss is the head of the wife. And then the wife is the head of the children. What kind of dynamic is this? Right? And so I'm not saying if you're a woman that you can't go out and have your own dreams in your career. Of course you can. But there is a way that a woman is supposed to have a healthy marriage for it to be something that works for everybody. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't outliers and individuals who are in these relationships where the woman's working really hard and the guy's at home and things seem on the outside to be fine. But I think naturally over time, a woman will eventually begin to look at those alpha dominant men that she's spending her time with and wondering why she's not with one of them. How did she end up in this situation? That's why you see a lot of infidelity in females. It's not because they're naturally wanting to cheat. It's just because they found themselves in this dynamic where the man that they're working with has this dominance. And naturally, even though we don't want to tie it to nature, we want to pretend human nature is not real, but human nature dictates that a woman is going to be attracted to a man who has that level of dominance, and the husband at home is not displaying that. And over the course of months and years, you have to think about the amount of total discipline that is required from that woman to not act on that. But even worse, even if you don't act on it, you might feel a certain way. And what does the book of Matthew teaches? It says, a man who has lust in his heart, or woman who has lust in their heart, has already committed adultery. Whoever has lust in their eyes has already committed adultery in their heart, right? It's already said. And so you're at work and you're doing this thing and you see these guys and you're operating, you're like, he's a handsome guy, he's wearing a nice suit, he's doing his thing, he's making good money, he's my boss, he's in charge, I'm going on a trip with him. You see what I mean? And so how does that make your husband feel? Well, it makes him feel down here. So even if you're doing all the right things, how does the husband feel still? Even if everything's going right, how does the husband feel? So as you can see, both of these dynamics, they have roles. The second you step outside of those roles is where you find the issues. So there's a few things that need to happen. Number one, you have to do an audit. You have to audit this entire situation. And you have to be honest with yourself, because if you're not willing to be honest with yourself, then none of it matters. Like, if you're going to get defensive, if you're going to say, well, that's not how I want to do it, that's not how I want to live, that's not how I want to be, well, then you know what? Then that's fine. That's a choice you make. And you make decisions for your family. You make decisions for yourself. Sometimes those selfish decisions can lead you to lose your family, lose your husband, lose your wife, right? So you have to keep that in mind. But you have to do that audit and figure out, where are we at with this thing? How do I want this relationship to be? How do I want it? What's most important? Is the job more important, or is the relationship more important? Which brings us to the second point, is after you do this audit of what's happening, then you have to establish new priorities. And so what are those priorities? Is the job and the money more important than the health of your long-term marriage? When you're 75 years old, do you want to be by yourself, or do you want to be married still? Well, then if that's the goal, do you want to be working at this job at 75 years old, or do you want to have been retired or doing something else already at this point? So you don't even care about that job when the time you're 75. So then at this point, the marriage is more important. So then why not prioritize that now? How do we find a way to make the income that you're making, but prioritize the marriage over it? And that's the thing. It's nothing wrong with working, and there's nothing wrong with being a more passive man, but it's like, how do we prioritize the marriage through all these things, right? And then the third thing that you have to do is you just have to be honest with yourself. And you have to be willing to adjust regularly. These are not things that happen overnight. They're not things that are created overnight. They're definitely not things that get solved overnight. It takes time. It's a process. And that's why my business Before the Apple, what we do with couples is we turn men into warriors for Christ, and we turn women into Proverbs 31 women. So then that way they can bond. They can find that balance, that equilibrium. That's the point. We take men on a journey of development and growth, and we take women on that same journey. My wife works with the women, I work with the men, and after we work together for one session, then we go off into our own worlds, and then we come back together and we see how it looks. We see how things have changed. It requires energy and work to do this type of repair in your marriage, but I know that that's what you want to do. So if you like this video and you found it valuable, I want you to go ahead and subscribe, right? It really means a lot to me. I'm growing this channel. It's a new channel, right? I'll be honest with you here, but follow us on Instagram. Follow us on social media. Follow us there, because we're changing the way that we do business, right? Follow us at Mindset Consulting, Before the Apple. We are here to help you. We are changing the way that marriages are fixed. We are helping this country get back online. We're done with the nonsense. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure you're probably done with it too. That's why you're here. You want to fix your marriage. A lot of times our marriages are damaged and destroyed because of what we allowed with our country over the last 50 years or so. So let's get back to the way things should be. Let me know if there's anything you need. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out the description here if you want to jump on the calendar and you're looking for some guidance or coaching. We could jump on a one-on-one call and see what's possible. Perhaps there's a way we could work together. We'll have a conversation and see what we could do to help you in your relationship. And who knows, a year from now, you might be in the best place ever. You might be able to really restore that thing. So have a blessed day. Thanks for tuning in.